I walk through the open church door and step into the interior of the Kulturkirche St. Stephani in Bremen, which is flooded with light. I am drawn to the center of the church, the crossing, where the altar and the cross are. From there, I can see a large installation in the right wing of the transept of the church. A round construction made of wooden Euro pallets at first prevents me from seeing what is inside while standing in the church. I approach the artwork by Patricia Lambertus, the fifth artist to receive a scholarship from the Bremische Evangelische Kirche, and enter through a curtain. Once you step inside the artwork, you are confronted with a plethora of apocalyptic images from historical works combined with modern icons from the media industry. In her walk-in, three-dimensional installation, the artist presents a panoramic view of Doomsday. Patricia Lambertus's three-part panorama covering the entire inner surface of the structure is a kind of triptych wallpaper about violence in the world. She combines a historical pictorial language with elements borrowed from today's media coverage of political and social conflicts and assembles these into a collage. The artist is moved by the intersection between and coexistence of death and life, ugliness, destruction, and beauty. And she makes this visible for beholders. In the 20th century, technology made it possible to destroy human life on Earth for the first time in the history of humans. In the right part of the triptych, the artist shows the consequences of this violent potential. Her apocalypse ends in an inferno. Lambertus presents a secular apocalypse. She portrays the apocalypse as an atmosphere of doomsday, crisis, and fear, something that is also popular in secular culture. In the artist's interpretation, secular history is a cycle of tears, injustice, and oppression, a cycle that humans apparently cannot escape. At the end is doom. In her interpretation, the artist falls back on the flood of images in today's media. Apocalyptic scenarios expressing our longing for our downfall and our joy of looking at images of things that we fear while hoping to remain unscathed ourselves. Through the circular form of the structure, this portrait of the apocalypse appears like a continuous loop. After the annihilation comes the paradise scene again in the left part of the triptych. The artist leaves it up to us, the viewers, to draw our own conclusions of the cycle. Does the secular world go back to the beginning after its destruction by humans? In the biblical apocalypse, this hopeless view gives way to salvation. The seer of the gospel, according to John, does not present the catastrophic scenario at the end of all times as a continuous loop. Apocalypse means revelation, disclosure, unveiling, discovery, becoming visible, coming to light. In other words, the revealing of the logic of power and the logic of oppression against the backdrop of what surpasses such logic and overthrows it. The word apocalypse can be found at the beginning of the book of Revelation, chapter 1, verses 1 to 3. The revelation, apocalypsis, of Jesus Christ, which God gave him to show to his servants what must soon take place, and he made it known by sending his angel to his servant John, who bore witness to the word of God and to the testimony of Jesus Christ, even to all that he saw. Blessed is he who reads aloud the words of prophecy, and blessed are those who hear, and who keep what is written therein, for the time is near. The biblical apocalypse revolves around the dialectics of doom and renewal, catastrophe and salvation. It contrasts with a naked, secularized apocalypse, in which the end is not a turning point, but only a final point. It counteracts this with a hope of life thereafter and a resistance against the forces of this world. The seer John represents this tradition as well as the perspective of the victims of worldly powers. He answers the desperate cry of how long. During John the seer's time, people did not look toward the future for catastrophe. They saw their world as catastrophic already. It is the same today. The world seems to be out of bounds more than ever. Many people live under catastrophic conditions. The biblical apocalypse is not just about the secular world. It is not about describing or stoking the doomsday mood or the longing for destruction. It is about exposing and overcoming power. The beast rising out of the sea in Revelation chapter 13 stands for the imperialist power of oppression and for the Roman Empire, which was the pinnacle of horror. The proverbial Pax Romana was established on the basis of enslaving 95% of the empire's population at the time. Peace, security, and wealth were only available to the remaining 5%, the elite. John breaks the infinite cycle of human violence when he reveals that God holds up his anointed Son, Jesus Christ, as a slain lamb against the imperial violence in Revelation chapter 5, verses 5 to 6. In his Apocalypse, he reveals God as the master of history, who will lead those to salvation who acknowledge God in their desperate plight. Apocalyptic thought is the attempt to make action possible in a desperate situation. The apocalypse offers hope in the face of hopelessness. The hope it offers refutes the idea of simply going on. The philosopher Walter Benjamin wrote that things are status quo is the catastrophe. At the end of the revelation to John, a vision of the New Jerusalem is described. The new reality is not a continuation of the old, it means its total destruction. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and the sea was no more. In Revelation chapter 21, verse 1. God's new creation is the New Jerusalem. This vision means the end of violence, the end of sacrifice, and the end of the infinite cycle of pain and suffering. This vision is not a promise of something better to come in the far future. Rather, it urges us to rise up against catastrophe and the catastrophic conditions today. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes, in Revelation chapter 21, verse 4. God wipes away the tears of those who empathize, who grieve over catastrophes and hope for and advocate a new beginning together with those who have perished and those who have been saved. In this sense, Patricia Lambertus's work invites beholders to think about the opulent apocalyptic images of crises for which we humans are partly responsible. Does the artwork encourage us to also see possible salvation beyond the depicted catastrophes? I leave the installation that has shown me the catastrophic cycle of the world. I feel the golden curtain that separates inside from outside close behind me. I am back inside the church. My eyes turn to the right, to God's Lamb in the middle of the artist Erhard Mitzlaff's triptych in the church window of St. Stephani. The Lamb has overcome the logic of death and catastrophe. Everything comes from this center. It is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. Then he showed me the river of the water of life, bright as crystal, flowing from the throne of God and of the Lamb through the middle of the street of the city. Also, on either side of the river, the tree of life with its 12 kinds of fruit, yielding its fruit every month. And the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations, in Revelation chapter 22, verses 1 to 2.